Is fruit good for your bird? How much should you give them? Let's find out in this video. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm David and today me, Pickles and Scampy are talking about fruit. Now fruit is one of these guys' favourite foods, so I thought it'd be great to do a video exploring how you should feed fruit to your parrot, what are the benefits of it, what are the potential problems, and if there's any sort of rules you should follow when feeding fruit to your parrots. Now to start with, I would like to say that fresh fruit fed in moderation to most parrots is an absolutely awesome thing to add into their diet. Most parrots will really enjoy fruit. Conures are a great example of this, and it is good for them as long as you try to stick to fresh fruits and you try to be sensible with how much you provide, because a little bit too much can make these guys very excited, just like Pickles P here talking about it. Now one thing I would like to mention as well, we feel that fresh vegetables are much more important in a parrot's diet than fresh fruit, because we've noticed that not all parrots will like fruit. Now many will enjoy it an awful lot, but some parrots, especially birds like cockatiels who may not encounter it much in the wild, aren't as interested. And of course there will be exceptions to this rule. Our cockatiels really dislike fruit. Fish likes a little bit of banana occasionally. Other than that, they're not that interested. So if your parrot isn't as into fruit, I would focus on the vegetables. But if they do enjoy it, nothing wrong with giving them a bit of it anyway. Now, as one small bit of caution when feeding fruit to your parrots, make sure you're getting that portioning right, which I'll talk about a little bit later in this video, how much you should provide as a rule of thumb, because fruit can be very high in sugar. And it's good to just feed it in moderation, because if your parrot's constantly getting fruit and they're eating loads of it, then that's going to have a lot of sugar in it and that could potentially affect their behaviour. So like with all things, be sensible, feed in moderation, and you and your parrot can be nice and happy. People also like to ask about dried fruit. Now, freeze-dried fruit and dried fruit is okay. Freeze-dried is obviously better because it holds more nutrition. But if you give your parrot dried fruit all the time, then that's going to have very concentrated sugar in it. So it's completely fine to feed them that, but make sure you are feeding it in moderation again. One of those tiny cubes of dried fruit for a small parrot is completely enough for them because there's a lot of sugar in it. And they're going to enjoy it, especially like these guys. A lot of people talk about parrot sense of taste, including ourselves, and they don't have as good a sense of taste, but they do have some. And when it comes to preferred foods that have flavour, like fruits which have quite intense flavour, conures and other frugivorous in the wild parrots will absolutely love it and go for it. Similarly to this, you can feed certain fruits that are lower in sugar. Berries are an excellent source of various trace minerals and vitamins, and they are lower in sugar than other fruit types. So I'll strongly recommend considering stuff like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries as fruits to give your parrot, because they're quite easy to portion and they are lower sugar fruits. Now portioning, a lot of people ask about this, how much fruit to provide, and I've come up with what I call the blueberry method. Just like a tablespoon method, I thought I'd come with some silly name for a way of portioning food. A lot of people do tend to provide too much fruit and run into problems with it. And I find that the blueberry method is a great way of portioning fruit without having too much complexity. With the blueberry method, for a small parrot like a conure, it is 1 to 2 blueberries a day. For a medium, it is 3 to 4. And for a large, it is 5 or 6. Scampy has a strong opinion on this. Just stick to that rule of thumb, because too much is no good. But if you give a little too little, you can always up the portion slightly. Because when you think about it, people provide like a whole strawberry or a grape to a conure, and a conure has a small head and a small crop. So if you provide a whole grape to a conure, which to us looks tiny, that is the size of Pickles' head. That's a great analogy, I think. So you do not want to be providing that much fruit in one pour. So remember, use the blueberry method. 1 to 2 for a small, 3 to 4 for a medium, 5 to 6 for a large parrot. When you're feeding your fruit in moderation, it really does make a great training treat. You can also make a great enrichment treat as well, depending on how you serve it. Different types of fruit have different benefits, and I'm going to be doing a series with Dr. Jason Crean in the future talking about some of the more specifics about fruit rather than this general video. But don't be afraid to cut up your fruit in small portions and use it as a motivator. Don't be afraid to be novel with your fruit, and don't be afraid to feed certain types of fruit. Citrus, for example, has a really bad rep, but in moderation, small bits are completely fine. Which leads me on to my last point in this video, fruit juices. Don't be afraid to use juice as a really useful tool in your training belt. Juice can be highly motivating, especially when a parrot learns what it is and how nice it is. You can get your parrot syringe trained with it. You can use it as a reinforcer on its own. Just make sure it's freshly squeezed and make sure you don't give too much of it. We trained most of our conures to be syringe trained just by using fresh fruit and reinforcement and phased it out, and they're just great with it now, and they really love it and enjoy it. You can also provide it, because strong opinions off camera here, you also provide it as a training reinforcement treat, so that's where fruit can be very useful too. So just to summarise, remember, fruit is great for parrots in moderation. Maybe consider what types of fruit you're providing and the portioning. Make sure you get it right. Don't be afraid to use it as a reinforcer, and I will have more content on fruit with more detail coming up on the channel. If you have any questions, happy to hear from you down below. But in the meantime, from me, Pickles on my leg, and Scampy, who's a bit naughty, take care and see you later.